In a breathtaking moment that left an entire kingdom breathless, Queen Margrethe II, Denmark's iconic and beloved monarch for over 5 decades, made a public appearance so powerful, so full of majesty and meaning, that even the most stoic observers could not hold back tears. The occasion, a historic milestone that marked a defining chapter in the reign of her son, King Frederick X. But what unfolded that day was far more than just pomp and protocol. It was a symphony of legacy, emotion, and national pride orchestrated by the queen who once ruled, now standing proudly behind the son she raised to lead. For months, Denmark had looked toward this milestone moment on the calendar, a date etched with royal significance. Yet few anticipated just how moving and profoundly unifying the day would be. From the first royal carriage that appeared on the cobblestone streets of Copenhagen to the final crescendo of applause echoing through the halls of Christiansborg Palace, the atmosphere was electrified by anticipation. And then she appeared. Draped in timeless elegance, Queen Margrethe II stepped into the light with a radiant poise that defied her 84 years. Though she officially abdicated the throne in January, passing the crown to her son in a historic act of monarchy modernization, on this day, she was every inch the queen the world remembered. The crowd hushed, cameras clicked, and hearts soared. The queen's unmistakable silhouette stood in gentle contrast to the youthful stride of King Frederick, now stepping fully into his sovereign prime. Side by side, mother and son represented a royal continuum that spanned generations, a living tableau of Denmark's rich and enduring monarchy. The speech that followed left the nation stunned, not just because of its eloquence, not merely for its royal cadence, but because it was from Margrethe herself, a queen no longer reigning but still undeniably ruling the hearts of her people. Her voice, firm yet tender, carried across the palace courtyard with the kind of magnetic command only a monarch born to lead can project. She spoke of transitions not as ends but as beginnings. She praised King Frederick not just as her son, but as a man and a monarch with a vision for Denmark's future. Her words blended reverence with reassurance, duty with deep maternal pride. This was more than a ceremonial handover. This was an emotional, soul-stirring moment in royal history, an intersection of past, present, and future. The speech became an anthem of continuity, echoing through the very foundations of Danish identity. Throughout Denmark, people gathered in living rooms, public squares, and bustling cafes to witness the broadcast. Flags waved from windows, church bells rang, and even those not usually inclined toward royal tradition found themselves drawn in by the authenticity of the moment. For Queen Margrethe II, whose reign began in 1972 amid global change and cultural shifts, this event marked not just a celebration of her son's leadership but a reaffirmation of the royal family's unbreakable bond with the Danish people. And it's this bond, woven through decades of service, resilience, and dignity, that continues to define the soul of the nation. The reaction was instant and overwhelming. Social media exploded with heartfelt tributes, videos of emotional onlookers, and artfully captioned images of the Queen's silhouette alongside King Frederick's strong posture. The Danish press hailed the moment as unparalleled, profound, and deeply symbolic. And the symbolism was everywhere. The choice of location, Christiansborg Palace, was not accidental. It is a place that breathes history. It was here that Queen Margrethe once delivered speeches in her early reign, navigated political challenges, and welcomed state dignitaries. And it was here, decades later, that she stood as a mother and mentor, offering her presence as a pillar of strength to the new king. The attire she chose spoke volumes, too. Her gown, a subtle blend of royal blue and silver, was not merely regal. It was reminiscent of her early portraits, a visual echo of the day she first ascended the throne. Her jewelry, including the sapphire brooch passed down through generations, was a silent nod to Denmark's royal legacy and her own lineage as a descendant of European dynasties. King Frederick, in turn, carried himself with a confidence and grace that made clear he is ready for this chapter. He nodded toward his mother in a gesture that conveyed more than words ever could, a son's gratitude, a monarch's respect, and a leader's acknowledgement of the legacy he now upholds. But the power of the day wasn't contained solely within the royal family. It rippled outward, into the crowds that stood with tears in their eyes, into the voices of schoolchildren who sang traditional Danish hymns in unison, and into the quiet pride of elderly citizens who had watched Queen Margrethe evolve over the decades from a young sovereign to a matriarch of a nation. In the days that followed, Newspapers were filled with tributes, essays, and retrospectives chronicling Queen Margrethe's enduring impact. Editorials called her speech the return of the royal conscience, while international headlines praised Denmark's ability to marry heritage with modernity through one profoundly symbolic day. Across Europe, other monarchies observed with reverence. In Britain, Spain, and the Netherlands, royal households reportedly sent personal messages of admiration. Queen Margrethe's ability to stand down from power while retaining influence and respect has become a model of graceful transition in the 21st century. But perhaps the most unforgettable takeaway was the sheer joy radiating from Queen Margrethe herself. As she interacted with citizens, exchanged smiles with children offering bouquets, and laughed alongside her grandchildren, it was evident her abdication had not diminished her spark. If anything, it had amplified it. Unburdened by the weight of the crown, she stood taller in spirit than ever before. And that, in many ways, was the true milestone. Not just the ceremonial passing of roles, but the personal evolution of two monarchs, one stepping up, the other stepping back, both standing together as Denmark looked on with pride. As night fell over Copenhagen, fireworks lit the sky. The royal banner waved in the crisp evening air, and for one glorious night, time seemed to stand still. The past, present, and future of Denmark's monarchy danced together in the glow of celebration. Queen Margrethe had not simply attended an event. She had orchestrated a memory, gifted a moment, and reminded a nation of what it means to have a royal heart beating at its core. And as Denmark rests under that glowing sky, one question remains. The morning after Queen Margrethe II's appearance, Denmark awoke not only with headlines but with a collective sense of awe. Newsstands sold out in record time. Television channels replayed the moment on loop. Every major broadcaster, from DR1 to TV2, dedicated primetime slots to the historic event, dissecting every frame, every glance, every word. What was it about that speech, that gesture, that presence that captured the heart of the nation so completely? According to royal historians, it was a living masterclass in monarchic evolution. Queen Margrethe didn't just step onto the palace balcony, she stepped into a legacy she now helps to author from a new vantage point, that of Queen Emerita, elder stateswoman, and Denmark's most enduring royal symbol. Inside the palace walls, the atmosphere was equally emotional. Royal staff members who had served Queen Margrethe for decades were seen with glistening eyes. The Queen's ladies-in-waiting, some of whom have been with her since the early 1980s, were overheard saying they'd never seen her glow quite like this. She was no longer burdened by state protocols and international diplomacy. Instead, she basked in the rare privilege of watching her legacy take flight in real time, through her son. And what a legacy King Frederick X now carries. Frederick's journey to this moment has not been without its trials. The once shy prince, often overshadowed by his mother's grandeur, has matured into a sovereign of quiet strength and thoughtful leadership. His ascent to the throne comes at a critical moment in Denmark's history, as the nation navigates social transformation, green innovation, and a shifting European landscape. Yet through it all, Frederick has maintained a steady course, one rooted in compassion, pragmatism, and a distinctly Scandinavian humility. One of the most powerful scenes during the Milestone ceremony came when Queen Margrethe and King Frederick stood beside each other during the royal procession. Without words, they communicated volumes. Their synchronized wave to the crowd, their shared glance, one of knowing, of transition, of pride, was a royal masterstroke in body language. International royal commentators were quick to praise the symbolism. Queen Margrethe didn't just endorse her son, she knighted him emotionally, said Ingrid Svensson, editor of Royal Nordic Review. In doing so, she has cemented her legacy not only as a queen but as a mother whose final act of reign was one of love. Elsewhere, royal families across Europe joined in celebration. The British royal family issued a rare personal statement praising Queen Margrethe's speech as one of the most gracious acts of royal unity seen in modern times. King Felipe VI of Spain sent a floral tribute, while Queen Maxima of the Netherlands was seen holding back tears during a private viewing of the ceremony. Even the Vatican sent a note of recognition, applauding the Queen's emphasis on generational leadership and civic responsibility. But beyond titles, crowns, and ceremonies, the real magic of the day was its emotional authenticity. Denmark, known for its reserved culture, allowed itself a collective exhale. This wasn't just a royal event. It was a family story. A love letter from a mother to her son. A nation's tribute to continuity, stability, and compassion. One of the most poignant reactions came from a schoolteacher in Aarhus, who wrote in a viral post, "I've never paid attention to the royals. But when Queen Margrethe spoke, I wept. Not for the crown, but for the reminder that leadership can be kind, that transitions can be beautiful." Queen Margrethe's decision to appear, not as a distant figure but as a mother, a mentor, and a symbol of strength, has already begun reshaping the monarchy's place in the public consciousness. Behind closed doors, palace sources revealed that the Queen worked closely with a small team of advisors and speechwriters to craft her address. She insisted the speech reflect her personal feelings, and reportedly rewrote major portions of it herself late into the night. The final draft, printed on parchment paper, was delivered in a silk folder to her quarters just hours before the event. Observers also noted the deliberate use of inclusive language throughout her speech. She repeatedly used phrases such as, "We as a nation, our journey together," and, "From my heart to yours." These weren't just rhetorical devices, they were bridges, connecting royalty to people in a uniquely Danish way. Meanwhile, King Frederick's own response was full of subtle power. He listened attentively, placing his hand gently over his heart as his mother spoke. When he addressed the nation later that evening, his words reflected gratitude, reverence, and an unshakable commitment to service. "My mother has shown me the path," he said, "and I vow to walk it, not alone, but with all of Denmark by my side." The nation responded with thunderous applause. Streets lit up with impromptu gatherings. In Aalborg, musicians played folk tunes in the town square. In Odense, candles lined the windows of homes in tribute. And across the Faroe Islands and Greenland, messages of unity poured in, celebrating the strength of a royal family that continues to evolve with its people. For Queen Margrethe, this milestone marked not the end of her story, but a triumphant new beginning. Though she has stepped back from public duties, sources confirm that she will continue to act as a cultural and diplomatic advisor to the court. She remains deeply involved in the arts, literature, and historical preservation, and is expected to release a memoir reflecting on her reign. Her next public appearance. Rumors swirl of a possible literary speech at the Royal Danish Academy or an honorary address at the University of Copenhagen, fitting venues for a queen known not only for her ruling ability, but for her intellect and artistry. But perhaps the greatest legacy she leaves is this: a nation united in pride. A family bound in love. A monarchy strengthened by grace. And in a world that often feels fragmented and chaotic, that alone is reason to celebrate. As Denmark looks ahead to the reign of King Frederick X, with Queen Mary by his side and Queen Margrethe never far behind, it does so with confidence. The Danish monarchy has proven that it can honor the past, embrace the present, and walk into the future with dignity. This was not just history made, it was history lived. And so, dear viewer, we leave you with one question. Do you believe Queen Margrethe's breathtaking return and speech will redefine what it means to be royal in the modern world? Or will it remain a once-in-a-lifetime royal miracle never to be repeated? Don't forget to like, share, and comment below. What touched you most about Queen Margrethe's historic moment? Was this her greatest act of legacy? Let us know in the comments. And if you love in-depth royal stories told with heart and historical context, hit subscribe, turn on the bell icon, and join our growing community of royal watchers. New videos drop every week.